So this is my queso dip, and for the ingredients you're going to need about, let's see, this is chopped pickled jalapenos. This is about a quarter cup. Really it's almost a half a cup. I like a little bit more bite in mine, but you can just do a half a cup or less if you don't like that. A small chopped onion, very finely diced, and you can do yellow or white. I like white because it's a white queso dip, although I am putting in yellow cheese. This is actually one giant garlic clove, but usually it's two, and I like a lot of garlic, so this might be the equivalent of like 3 small garlic cloves. Here we have the cheeses. I'm using about a half a cup to 3/4 cup of yellow cheddar cheese, sharp, and about 1 to 1.5 cups of the Monterey Jack. Then over here I've got a half a cup of whole whipping cream, and then 1 cup of milk. And in here I have some cayenne pepper, some salt, some coriander, about half a teaspoon coriander, half a teaspoon of cumin. And to start, I'm just going to put in about a couple of tablespoons of oil into a hot pan. And you do not want your vegetables to burn, so I'm going to pull that off a little bit, and just going to stick the onions in first. And then I'm going to just saute those really quick. This is an oil that I infused with garlic first, so it's got even a more garlicky taste. You don't want to overcook your onions, so watch them really carefully. You just want them to start becoming translucent. And then the next step is I'm going to add the garlic, and we're only going to make a little hot spot here in the middle. My onions are almost translucent, not quite, but they're close. And now I'm going to go ahead and add my garlic. And you do not want the garlic to burn, so keep it moving. Now I'm going to open my beer. You can add as little or as much beer as you want. Obviously you're going to have to adjust your recipe depending on how much beer you add. This is really the secret ingredient of any good queso dip, so I would definitely recommend putting this in even if you're not a beer drinker, because the alcohol is going to be cooked out anyway and the taste is not comparable. So I think I put in about a half a cup of beer here, half a cup to 3/4 cup, and I'm just going to bring that back up. Bubbles are starting to form again, so at this point I'm going to go ahead and add my milk. And now I'm going to add my heavy cream. And finally, I'm going to add my spices. You want to bring this back up to heat, not a boil. You do not want this milk to boil, but you do want to get it right before boiling point. So bring the heat back up. And while that is going, I'm going to start the roux. So in order to make the roux, I'm going to put about a tablespoon of butter in here. You want to melt that, but we do not want to really let it brown. And then we're going to put the flour in right away. And this will create our roux. This will just cook the flour. And you want to keep moving that as you begin to add milk. stir constantly as you're adding milk. Just want to continue to stir this and let it thicken. And now you're going to add your jalapenos. Now this is kind of a chunky queso dip. As you can see, there's lots of chunks in there, and I really like mine nice and smooth, so I'm going to pulse it a little bit. You got to be really careful when you're doing this because you do not want to splatter hot queso dip on yourself. So you want to make sure that your queso dip is thickening up for you nicely. And if you use a wooden spoon like this, you can just run your finger across, and when you can leave a clean track like that and it takes a while to cover up, you have a good consistency. So now the other thing that you want to do when you check for the consistency is to make sure that the taste is good. I'm going to go ahead now and add some more jalapeno juice. I like mine hot, so again, I'm going to add quite a bit. Now I'm going to add a little bit of salt. It's about maybe less than a quarter of a teaspoon. And now I'm going to go ahead and add the cheese. And stir that in slowly. Get the cheese to melt in there. And that's it. Queso dip. Done. Oh yeah. Perfect. There's a queso dip with a little bit of fresh chive on top. And then you just need some good chips and just dip in.